Positioning and pricing is kind of like a chess game, as you might guess. And so, one way to think about this is the same way that you think about playing chess. We have to move pieces, we change the way we position, we change the way we price until we finally find what we really need to do. And so here we are. First, let's talk about positioning a company, especially a young company. There are several things you can do. First of all, brand advertising. For instance, when Procter and Gamble paid $6 million for a Super Bowl ad, they were brand advertising for sure, but it could be a waste of money. There are no measurable returns from those kinds of things that are direct. And often young companies are ego driven when they do this. You can think of the crypto ads in the Super Bowl and some things that have happened in the past. Or you can do product advertising. You may know that in the last Super Bowl, DuckDuckGo did a great job with a 1 minute ad. Who would have guessed? Well, the problem is most of those ads have no call to action. It's not easily measurable at all. The gains could come from other sources and you'd never know. So what we need is a timely call to action. Think of iTop VPN and BitLocker Plus. You can have them for $29 if you act now before, pick a date, May 30th. You've just done something important. You've given a price, you've given an action plan, and you gave a deadline. And you could limit it to the right audience, not necessarily the Super Bowl. So that particular combination of products would appeal to semi-tech and older people. And the poor product offering might be the problem because you don't know what kind of click-through you're going to get. So expect just 1.5 to 3% and be happy with it. So there are 7 pricing niches or positioning niches. And these are some that I kind of created, and I'm sure you may find more, but here they come. You can be in the low price niche, but that's dangerous if you have fixed overhead. It's easy to defeat with a competitor. All they have to do is just price below you and get you out of the marketplace. But there are good examples. There was Walmart. There was the 99-cent stores until very recently, and there is Costco. Or you could position for quality. That's good if you can consistently and highly deliver it. And good examples are Breitling watches, Costco brands, and Louis Vuitton. Or you can position for service, but that's expensive. And it's great because I'd love to have companies that over service their customers. And good examples are Nordstrom, Four Seasons, the Ritz-Carlton. They charge you more, but they're giving you more. You can position in a fourth way by the innovation that you provide. It's possible if you're early to market with jaw-dropping products like Apple, Netflix, Herman Miller. It's a great thing to position that way, especially for early adapters like us. You can position by elegance like Bentley or Rolls-Royce or Tiffany. You can position by brand. Now that's pretty difficult to match the leaders because they usually have a head start. But examples are Tesla and Amazon Retail and Google Search. And then there is that unique group of companies that we love as investors, SaaS, software as a service, PaaS, product as a service. It goes forever. You can pretty much deliver anything as a service nowadays, and it relieves owning assets because somebody else is hosting what you're doing. And examples of that are Dropbox or Slack or Salesforce or OpenAI. If you can do that, you're using somebody else's platform and getting into the marketplace cheap. But remember, you need to position along with other things. If you're just a SaaS company, you better have a brand and you better have a position of some kind. But then let's talk about the inhibitors to customer change. What would keep people from changing either to you or from you? There are 2 things. Relationships, that's powerful, but sometimes you can't measure it. But it does work with both the prospects and your customers. Or switching costs. I love this one because it keeps customers inside the fence, keeps your competitors from getting at your customers. Often, if you're the one trying to get somebody else, you can offer incentives, including free switching, free hosting, first month free, lots of things. But you got to consider the common effects of common APIs, which make switching costs much less. And that's coming to many industries right now. So switching is a difficult thing to protect. But each of these is powerful and difficult for competitors to overcome. So here are some really quick thoughts. First, good, cheap, or fast, pick any two. Sounds kind of like what we remember Red Adair used to do when he talked about putting out the fires. But that is a great way of deciding how you're going to position. Pick any two. Then there are alternatives, such as test your price positioning in the niche market. And you can do that easily with A/B tests. If you have 1,000 possible candidates that you've gotten from Seamless AI or any other mailing source, divide them in half and make one offer to half and one offer to the other half and see what kind of click or response you get. And then there is the muscle of niche marketing. Look for prospects' intent data if it's available. Look at the little graph on the right-hand side. Intent comes after people are aware and they consider, and then they make intent evaluation and decisions. So with a new product, consider price skimming or penetration pricing. This one's tough, but a lot of companies do it. This is where you look at the competitor's price, you undercut it by some gigantic amount. Your marginal cost may take a hit when you do this because, of course, your overhead is not covered. But look at the quantity that you can get just because you undercut your competitor's price. It is one way of doing this. Or you can do cost plus pricing. That's required in some environments like government. Is inefficient. It means you have to allocate your prices and your costs, and it's difficult to differentiate. And it is harder to account for. So cost plus pricing is not something I'd recommend unless you're in the government environment and for bids. And optimizing based upon demand is important, but you got to be able to measure that demand. And we talked initially about that as a problem. Your limited liability to drive demand may be a problem other than your price. If you can't drive demand and you can't do it with price, then optimizing based upon demand is not easy. Price up, quantity down, price down, quantity up, demand up, supply and price are both up. Then there is yield management or demand pricing. It's dynamic. We have called it yield management for years. Now there are other names for it as well. It does require extensive knowledge of the history, the competition, and external factors. And I have quite a history at this. I invented one of the first yield management systems back in 1987. I copied the airlines and I did it for hotels, and it was kind of wildly successful. But those are back in the days. And in fact, this is a slide to show you that it was so big that at the time, the industry, the hospitality or hotel industry's journal gave me the cover story as a vendor. That's never been done before, and it has never been done since, but it was that important a subject. So the price versus the competition is what you really need to worry about if there is competition. And the way you can find that, your price versus competition, is by either screen scraping, getting gray invitation or information from your own people who find quotes that were given by your competitors to those customers that you have been able to win over. There are obviously usually public displays of price by some of your competitors, even on their websites, but it involves a limited look into the variables. You don't quite know what that price represents, but you try. And then there is price versus value added. If you disconnect price from the competition, it makes sales faster and easier. And you're responding to customer needs, not their wants. It is the best possible way to do this. You price because you're adding value. Number 7, price by technology advantage. Those of us, particularly those of us who invest in technology, love to see this because it means that you have done something where we perceive you have an advantage over everybody else, and we're going to pay more, buy it earlier, take a bigger chance, and maybe get a product that isn't quite worked out as well as it might be. So think of cloud computing. How many years did it take most of the users that you look at as your possible user base to finally come around and trust the cloud? How about AI? versus manual changes in prices. How many of us, even today, are allowing a machine to decide what the prices of your products are going to be? And then how about integration with all of this compared to just SneakerNet? That is, changing your prices if you're a retailer by going around to each of the tables and changing those prices manually. So prices can be and should be tied to inflation. It retains your margins without big dips. But think of this. If you had a 4% annual increase, that's 22% if it's compounded over 5 years. And I have stories of some of my companies that didn't increase their prices for 5, 6, 7 years for fear that they would drive their customers away. And you can guess, David, what that would do. They were leaving 25 or 30% on the table. And when they finally increased those prices, those customers said, wow, that's a big one. Let me go look and see what your competitors are doing. And the answer is tie your prices to inflation in your contracts and inflate your prices as they expect prices and costs to be inflated. It works. How about pricing by division of value? The value-added resellers that we know do just that. They add their software to somebody else's hardware. They combine two pieces of software, including their own. They do joint ventures. They have representatives that help to do just this. And sometimes they use an outside customer service organization. But they are dividing the value among several companies that are helping them to provide the things they need to do. We price for corporate valuation because we are thinking, aren't we, that someday we're going to sell this company that we're putting together.